Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's wonderful to see so much interest in the Rising Star Awards, and also from such a big spread of people and businesses and across the industries we support. So if you don't know me, I'm Sam Nelson, and I have the privilege of leading the Careers and Development Programme at the charity. Again, just to remind anyone who's just joined that this session has been recorded. It will be shared on our website and via social media channels. So if anyone's missed it or you want to review any points from the guys, you certainly can. Questions can be submitted throughout in the Q&A box, or at the end, we'll hopefully have time for you to raise a hand and ask them directly of any of the participants, should you wish to. If then you leave the session with unanswered questions, because there are lots of questions you could ask, you can email awards@theprintingcharity.org.uk, and we'll be happy to answer them and move forward from there. So I'm guessing that most of you who are here and have chosen to join know about the award, so I won't go through the whole process in detail, but I'll just run through some key points quickly. So in response to industry feedback and to align with some other initiatives in the industry, we've changed the age eligibility criteria this year. So it's now, if you are aged 18 to 35 at the start of the application period, you're eligible. That's an increase from the age of 30 last year. Applicants can be in any role as long as they're employed in our supported sectors. A rising star can be someone who wants to develop themselves to be the best they can be in their current role, or it can be someone who wants to build their skill set to move forward towards promotion and progression, or any combination of those two. It's an application-based award and not a nomination one, so it's about the candidate understanding their career plans and engaging with the process all the way through. If candidates are successful at application, there's an informal online interview with our industry expert judges, so it's really important to think about both stages as you prepare. We've got more detail about the process on our website, but today's webinar is a chance to hear from one of our stars about putting together the best application, and from one of our judges about how they view those applications and what the interview holds. Just so you know, applications next year are scheduled to open on the 2nd of March and run until the 29th of March, so there's plenty of time for preparation. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome 2025 winner Sayeeda Rafique and one of our industry judges, Richard Pickard. So Sayeeda works for Xerox in their Western Europe named accounts team. She drives revenue growth and strengthens client relationships. She's currently investing her Rising Star Award in the CMI Level 5 Certificate in Management and Leadership, and an additional course about women in management and leadership. Her ambition is to step into a transformative leadership role and champion women in leadership. Richard is Group Director of Operations at the Telegraph Media Group, where he oversees their operation, including newspaper operations, print subscriptions, the Telegraph Customer Contact Centre, IT operations, and no doubt much more. Richard has worked in media for 20 years, holding operations roles at both the Telegraph and News UK. So it's great to have you both here. Hello, both.
Hello, Sam.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sam.
Brilliant. Right. So we will get straight on to hearing your insight. So I'm going to come to Sayeeda first as one of our winners, which is very exciting. So Sayeeda, can you tell me about how you learned about the RSAs? And then why did you decide to apply for it? And what did you hope to get out of applying?
Yeah, sure. So I initially heard about the RSA Awards on LinkedIn and socials, etc. I've seen it kind of hanging about on those platforms, but I didn't really know too much about it at the time. So then I applied because the current role I was in at the time, I was kind of like taking on additional responsibility there, like informally, team leading, covering management, etc. So one day I was just going about my day, and it was actually from one of my colleagues, or a few of them, that were like, oh, when you're filling in, we kind of like working with you. We think you're quite good at it. Have you ever considered like leadership or team leading or anything like that? And I was just like, I don't really, and I hadn't before. And then I noticed one of the Rising Star Award posters in like our office. So I was intrigued to know like what that was about. So then I looked into it in a little bit more detail, and that's what initially planted the seed for me, I guess. And then I guess what I hoped to gain from the award was kind of that formal recognition, and then kind of getting a more depth in detail about leadership in general, from like a theoretical point of view, and kind of backing it up with a course or things that can support me with what I was kind of doing already. And then so I kind of knew that it supports your development and growth, but what I didn't know was like the eligibility, because I think last year when I did it, the category was between like 18 to 30. As you mentioned earlier, it's gone up to like 35 now, so that includes more people. And then also, if I'm completely honest, I also didn't know that if you're successful, you go to the House of Lords, which sounded like a good thing to do. So I was just like, oh, why not?
Absolutely. I mean, the prize at the end is definitely the development and the training, but also, being a rising star and coming to that ceremony is a lot of fun, as I hope you had fun. Also, I think it's a really good point that it's a good chance to, no doubt you already were building those leadership skills, but it gave you a way to build that credibility, which is great. And so I do have a follow-up question to that. Can you tell us a little bit about what the preparation you did prior to filling in your application, and how did you decide what course?
Yeah, sure. So the preparation that I kind of did was, like I mentioned, I had seen it previously, like a year before, but I didn't know too much about it. In preparation to that, I kind of like learnt more about it, drafted notes about the criteria, eligibility, what you can kind of use your award on. And then what I did was head over to the website to kind of research into past winners, hear testimonials, and also from the previous year, join one of these types of webinars as well to get more of a better understanding of it. So that was quite good. And get any tips off of these types of sessions. And then in terms of what I did to prepare with like my management and HR, I kind of had the conversation with them like, oh, what do you think about this if I do something like this to support what I'm kind of doing already and gaining that credibility? And they said that it was kind of like a natural thing to do. So they were like, yeah, that sounds like a good shout to do. So I went with it from there. And then how I went about choosing my courses is, for me per se, I knew that was the topic that I wanted to do. But I think you guys, Sam, you send out a document that's got different topics on it for, say, if leadership is not your area, but say you're more interested in creative or production, etc. There's a list of bullet points on there to kind of give you something to start off with and like research into those areas. So there was a list of courses there, and then from that topic of the leadership, I went into and further researched the courses and which ones that I think would be relevant to me. So that's kind of how I prepared. And also a tip for this is, when you're looking at some of those, they have different price points on it, and different times of year, like different courses are discounted at different times. So I kind of got an idea of when they would be. So that's how I managed to get two of the courses within the award that you get. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, that is all fantastic points. And I think, that point about looking when the course starts, and also the preparation document, we will be sending that out. So that's a great call out. That's brilliant, Sayeeda. Thank you very much for telling us all about that so far. Now I will bring Richard into the webinar. So Richard, thank you for joining us. And you are a seasoned judge with us. You've judged for a number of award cycles now. When you're looking at applications from people like Sayeeda, what are the key things in the application that make you think that makes a potential star stand out to you, and what makes a good course choice for you in terms of helping them progress?
Of course, yeah. Thank you, Sam. And afternoon, everybody. Great to see so many people attending as well. I am so personally enthusiastic about these awards. I think the potential, for our industry and our broader industry is great. So it's brilliant to see such enthusiasm. So, I mean, with regards to those questions, and I think really it builds on the excellent points that Sayeeda has made. I think on the one hand, when I see applications, I really like to know that the candidate has made sufficient research and it's related both to their current discipline, current role that they're working on, but has a real eye to the future as well. So the next 2 to 3 years. So how are some of the courses, some of the initiatives that they want to explore and be funded for in this period help right now, but help in terms of progression. And progression is really interesting because it can be quite varied. So it might be about leadership, but sometimes we've looked at applications where the individuals have asked for tools or equipment to support their current skills. Maybe they're involved in kind of the print engineering side or stationery, etc. So it isn't always about a specific online course, but it's how you assemble that. You show it's well articulated. You show it's relevant to what you're doing in the here and now. And then you're thinking about the future as well. And I think, sometimes people are maybe, they maybe lack a bit of confidence in that regard. And you really shouldn't. I like to see an application where you're on the front foot. You're saying, I'm doing this role now. I think if I'm able to do these courses and buy this equipment, this will help me now. And this is how it could help me in 2 to 3 years with my goals to grow with my current employer. And wider career development as well.
Brilliant. And actually that's a really good point in terms of, our application form that you will fill in if you're a candidate does talk you through that journey, but you really have to show the judges that you've thought about how it's going to take you forward. And obviously we're not there to stand in the shoes of the employer in terms of training. We're there to provide something extra to really enhance your career. So what will help you be better at what you do today, and then what will take you to the next step? Or as I said earlier, just be better at your job overall because you're a more rounded individual. So Sayeeda, sort of following on from that, because Richard talked about what he looks for in an application, was there one thing that you wanted the judges to remember from your application?
Yeah, funnily enough, Richard kind of touched on it before. I kind of wanted, the one thing that I wanted to stand out was to kind of let the judges know that it was kind of like a natural next step for me, and that I had thought it out and like planned it well, and that it was kind of ready to kind of execute, and that I was kind of serious about my learning and development journey. That's why I had like given it good thought and planned it out. And also the fact that in the industry, it's kind of on the rise of like more women in leadership and in print, etc. Like Richard mentioned, there might be areas for people that are interested in like the tools or the skill sets that you need as well, but then also mixing it up that in the industry, it's not just limited to kind of one area. There's like multiple things that you can look at and still be within the industry in different areas. So I kind of wanted to bring that in as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And actually that's, again, you're thinking about the progression, and you were thinking about the progression of women in leadership. There's lots of elements of our businesses now, of our industries, whether it's sustainability, whether it's diversity and leadership, that are very future facing and that can support a career going forward. So that's a really good point. And then in terms of the actual practicalities, Sayeeda, how did you go about filling in the application form, and how did you tackle getting that done? Are you a do it all in one go person, or a make notes? How did you go about that one?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I found the form, it was quite straightforward off the website, but I like to look over things before I do it in one go. So what I did is I kind of just got it on a Word document, got the questions also another thing is that you obviously pre-release them earlier on. So I grabbed them then and had a think about it. So then on the document, I kind of narrowed down each question, broke it down, and then came up with my answers, refined it, and then linked the responses to the questions. I drafted it all on there. I got like a second pair of eyes, so then I went to like my management, HR, and I got their feedback from it and what they made of it to check for like anything that I had missed or needed to add, or general like grammar, etc. And then then I posted it into the form online. But I think doing it beforehand gives you that room to kind of check it all over before you submit it.
Brilliant. And I think that gives me a chance to say, so that everyone knows, the application form is not able to be saved in our website. So if you've got people applying next year, I would recommend, as Sayeeda did, making notes and writing answers outside of the application form to transport in, so you don't lose anything. Also, those questions for the application form are subject to change, but in advance of the application period, they will be available for people to look over by request. So you can request those via email. So that's great. Thank you. After the application period, if you're successful in your application, there is an interview stage. It is informal and supportive, but it is also about being prepared and knowing what you want to do, and just convincing the judges that you can back up the application. So Richard, on that point, for you personally, we obviously provide you with the applications of the people that you're going to interview. So how do you prepare for the interview, and how does a good application help you with the interview, and how does it help you shape that conversation?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I think when I receive the applications, the first thing I like to do is spend quite a considerable amount of time reading through and trying to understand the explanation, the narrative, the background, what the role that the individual's currently doing, how they demonstrably think that the courses, materials that they're asking for could help, and is the kind of description in the narrative, does it kind of make sense to me? Is it a like logical progression? And also, is it relevant right now? So occasionally we have applications which are really well intended. They're great, but they're also maybe like a year or two ahead. So it might be, sometimes we say to people, look, can you come back to us next year? Because I think you should focus on these, sort of core aspects of your role first. So I think really what I'm looking for when I'm reading through is for a real assessment of where they are in the here and now, a focus on that they've done sufficient research, they've compared the course perhaps to various providers, and they've identified that there's the right fit for them as well. I think this is a bit sort of twofold as well. So on the one hand, I really like applications where they're kind of bold and enthusiastic. But equally, on the other hand, don't really want them to be sort of, too ambitious, because it needs to be realistic and achievable, so that it fits within your day-to-day role and, obviously your commitments to your employer as well. So, well written, concise, credible. Those are some of the key areas that I look for when I prepare. And I also think as well of the sort of questions I'd like to ask when we then meet the candidates. Yeah,
brilliant. And there's so many pieces of that I can pull out to sort of help the candidates. And I mean that point about balancing the career progression with it being usable skills to get you to that next bit of progression is a real key piece. There's got to be a linear sort of process to that, and also I know that I don't want to put words in Richard's mouth, but I know that all of our judges really like to see the passion for the industry. So we all know that we love the industry we work in, and that people want to progress in it. So show that in your application for sure. So last question from me to Sayeeda. Is there anything that you know about the process now, that you wish you'd known before, and that you could share with the group to help them, that you might have done differently, or would just give them a top tip?
Yeah, sure. I would say to kind of get familiar with it beforehand, like follow the page, because the more familiar you are, the easier it comes to kind of like speak about in your application, and then that can come across in your interview. The one thing that I did find daunting that I didn't know initially was that at the interview stage, obviously judges like Richard, they've been in the industry for a long, long time, and you're just up against a panel of judges, and I kind of found it a little bit daunting that it's with that, but it's more so kind of like an informal chat. So if I known that, okay, it's not as pressured and it's kind of a chance to explain yourself a bit more and go into detail with the application more, it's more relaxed. So I feel like I would have been a bit more relaxed with that had I known that. So it's not something to worry about. And then another thing I would say is even if like you're not the most confident person, or like you have a bit of nerves, like going through the process in general, it helps you build that. So I think the last thing I would say is if you've got an idea of what it is that you want, and you want to go with it, definitely you should go with it after thinking about it, and not to kind of hesitate, because to say if you have a good outcome, that's great, you build that confidence along the way, and if not, like you've increased the age range, you can always come back, get the feedback that you needed, and then always go again the next year and the next year until you kind of get there, and that will help you build your confidence with it as well. So it's definitely something that you shouldn't hesitate about. Just definitely go for it, I would say.
Brilliant. I mean, again, so many great points that I would highlight more if we had more time. But yeah, the informal interview, we do want people to be prepared, and it's nice to have a little bit of nerves because it gets you to do a good job. But we are not there to catch people out. We want to know what it is and how we can support them, and make that decision of whether it's right for now or next, in collaboration with the judges. And also calling out something Sayeeda said earlier, that that connection with your HR or your management when you're thinking of applying, so that they can have a view on what it is you're going to do and help you build that career plan, is also a really key point that I missed earlier. And then a final question for Richard before we open it up to any more questions is, Richard, do you have a tip or any particular do's or don'ts that you might want to share with the group in terms of applications and interviews?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the first things to think about in terms of when you put the application is, do be really, really well prepared, and do be focused on your career. And as I say, be a little bit selfish about that and thinking about your future. Demonstrate enthusiasm and passion, as Sam correctly mentioned a little bit earlier as well. And then on the other hand, I think don't be nervous about it. We all of us in the industry, we're very, very lucky, to have been in the industry for a relatively long period of time. But I remember when I started in newspapers in 2005, and it literally feels like yesterday. And I'm so enthusiastic, as I know the printing charity are, to help people with this initiative. So absolutely nothing to be nervous about. When we have the discussions, they're very informal. It's not meant to catch anybody out. And also, I think, as I alluded to earlier, don't just ask for one thing. I think when your application, if it's quite well-rounded, you're looking for maybe a couple of courses or a course or an item, that's often really interesting as well. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing some more applications.
Brilliant. Thanks, Richard. And that is a very good point, actually, that I didn't run through in my key points. The prize is up to £1,500 to put towards training and development, or whatever it is that you think will build your career. And you don't get penalised for using too little or too much. What we really want to see is that the course or group of courses really makes sense for you. Right, so we have got a couple of minutes left that we can open up to questions. So Liz, do we have any already submitted?
We had a question from Sarah Temple. Thank you for your question, Sarah, regarding a potential collaboration with the RSA, Royal Society of Arts, who mentions that we would receive even more applications from BA and MA students. So I've actually just gone back on the chat for Sarah, but it's worth flagging that this award is actually only open for people who are working within the sectors that we at the charity support, not for those who are currently studying within it. So unfortunately, any BA and MA students aren't eligible, but they're welcome to apply once they've graduated.
I can
Question,
see.
does that include apprenticeships?
Yes. So Tony, yes. So apprentices can absolutely apply. I think one thing that the charity and judges do look at is overall workload. So we do know that an apprenticeship takes time out of the business and has additional learning on top of what they do at work. So if someone is definitely able to demonstrate that they can juggle all those balls, then they're very much eligible. What we do see a lot of is people using this as their next step after they finish their apprenticeship to build on. So I don't want to exclude it, but we do want to be careful with how we put a workload on our young people, which, you know, I'm sure you would as well, Tony, as I do know you. Yeah, any more, Liz?
Yeah, we have a question from Jude Corliss. Thank you, Jude. Mentioned earlier that the list of courses will be sent out to everyone. I'm wondering when this will be sent out, as I'd love to get a head start. That's fantastic to hear. Sam, over to you.
So we're in the process of updating the list of it's the titles of courses that people have got training on. So it gives you a starting base rather than the specific courses, because we are provider agnostic, as it were. It's for you to find that, but that will be, we're updating it from last year's winners. We're going to put that on the website, and then it will be, you can request it via the awards app inbox if you can't find it on the website. And then we are running a course choice webinar in the new year where we will send it to anyone who registers for that. So it will be very much available in lots of places. Any more?
No, there are no more questions unless anyone is wishing to submit a last minute one.
Was there a comment, and I might have missed it, just about obviously the awards are in London, but is the interview stages handled remotely? So yes, they are. Yeah, we do the interviews virtually.
Well spotted, Richard. Absolutely. We interview online, so hopefully accessible for everyone. And yeah, so that's a great call out. I've seen, I think, Tony again about feedback. Were you going to say that, Liz? That popped up.
Yeah.
So if essentially you get feedback at the application stage, you'll receive an offer of feedback, which would then come from me and my colleague Rosie, because we are the decision makers at that point. And then if you are unsuccessful at application. Then if you're unsuccessful at interview, we take the details from the judges and we have a chat with them about it and they give us comments. Then again, we will provide email feedback as to why that is. And we can then have a chat about it with any candidate and move that forward. But what we want to be very clear on is that it's not a one application and win or lose situation. If you remain eligible in the age range, then you could apply as many times up until you win. And we do have people who win on the second, third, and even fourth application. And typically very quickly, the reason it's not that it's never that we don't think that person is a rising star. It's normally that the judges can't see the course choice providing the right skills, or that we're not clear on why they want to do the courses, or they talk about, I don't know, maybe becoming someone in sales, but they choose a leadership course, those sort of things that don't line up. It's never about the person. It's about really following those steps and understanding where those courses are going to get them. So hopefully that gives you a little bit about that, Tony. Anything else popped up as we're a little bit over time, Liz? Is there anything else in there? Really appreciate everyone staying and giving us their time.
No, nothing else in there. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming and listening, and thank you for giving us those questions. As I said, anything else that you think of, awards@theprintingcharity.org.uk, and we'll answer them. There will be more details of more webinars upcoming, but for now, thank you so much to Sayeeda and Richard for giving us your time and giving us that insight. We appreciate your ongoing support, and I think everyone here does too.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hope that was helpful for the next year of applicants.